And we are live again. Welcome to a new season of post-match shows. As always, I'm Chris, and I'm joined, as always, by Irish Tommy. How are you feeling?
Very pissed off, Chris, frankly.
Yeah.
It was really poor tonight.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what to expect. I feared the worst, but hoped for the best. And what I saw, frankly, filled me with dread for the rest of the season because Newcastle are not one of the better teams that we're going to play this season.
No, not even
And
season.
yeah, and we shit the bed. So,
Yeah.
And the players know what's coming the next 6 games and would have understood that 3 points was going to be really important tonight, and to still go out and put in a performance like that is very, very troubling.
Yeah. So for anyone who might have missed it, obviously, match day 1, West Ham fall to Newcastle 2-0. Callum Wilson and Hendricks scoring for Newcastle, and just absolutely nothing going forward for us. I kind of want to get your initial reactions to the match. Is there anything positive for you on this, or should we just start in on the negatives right away?
I can't take anything positive from it, to be honest. There wasn't anything I saw that gives me any particular hope. I can't even really talk about at least this player or that player was very, very good, because I don't think there was even a single very good performance from any player tonight. I mean, it was literally just 11 6 out of 10s.
Yeah.
They were all. Nobody was particularly terrible, but nobody was very good. So it was like down the line, it was almost like 6 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 6 out of 10. And that's not going to win you any games. You won't even draw many like that. So it's hard to find any positives from that, to be honest. And like usually, we'll both try to find something positive to take from a game, but tonight I genuinely can't find one. I really can't.
The only positive that I can really take away, and it for me, is honestly, Fredericks was better than I was expecting he would be. I don't think he was fantastic. But I don't think he was terrible either. I think definitely a better performance from him than I was expecting. But I mean, just overall, there was no passion.
Yeah. Well, God bless you for trying, Chris, to pull something from the ashes. But
there we go. No one got hurt. No one got hurt.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, really, it's like
no, not at all.
If we're playing like that, what fucking difference? What first 11 we put in the field. If that's how we're going to play, who gives a shit? Like, it's we get a couple of injuries. I mean, what's he going to say? It's a blow. Oh, this player's out for a few weeks. It's a blow. A blow to what? To our next loss. Like, we're losing with them.
We'll lose,
and we'll lose
2-0 next time if we got an injury.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's just yeah, like I said, bless you for trying to make a positive out of it, Chris. But yeah, if you want to take it as a positive that Fredericks was a 6 out of 10 instead of a 3 out of 10, then fair enough. I'm happy to go with it because that's all I've got.
I mean, I try to be an optimist, as people have realized from the shows I've done. I was predicting a 2-1 victory over Newcastle in the first match, and there was just absolutely nothing. Honestly, I'm more worried than I was going into the season. I thought that there would be something, but from what I saw, and we'll get into it, each individual, but I mean, Rice wasn't up to scratch. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what that was. I think Fabianski's lost a step. I don't think I'm not as safe or as comfortable with him as I used to be. And for me, if we were to get in Tarkowski, I'd be very much okay with it because it means Diop's not starting. I was not comfortable with Diop whatsoever. I think that I don't think that he's adapted. I think he's regressing continually, and it's just beginning to show.
Yeah, I'm far more worried about Diop than Fabianski. I agree with you on Fabianski, by the way. His first season with us, Fabianski was absolutely brilliant. Yes, he's fallen off a little bit, but not to the point where it's like a real problem. Um, at the moment, anyway. I think Fabianski will need to be replaced next summer for sure. But at the moment, like we've said before, we've got bigger fish to fry. But yeah, I agree with you now on Diop. His form is worrying. We all expected him last season, I think, to push on and improve and become even better, because he had in fairness to him, he did have a solid first season. He looked like he had a lot of promise. Like he was going to be a really great centre back for us or for someone. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with Diop. He's definitely regressed.
He honestly looks like he has trouble taking in the ball, and then on top of that, he seems to struggle with just simple passes. Even just to Ogbonna, he's always passing it short to where Ogbonna has to come and get it.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with him. I really don't. If that's just him and he's not the player we all thought he would be, could be that. Or there could be something else going on. I don't know. But yeah, it's a worry. It's a worry. And certainly, look, Tarkowski would be an upgrade. There's no question about that. But I don't know if we're even going to get him. But even with Tarkowski there today, I still think we lose that game. You know, as dodgy as Diop can be, I don't think there was any direct correlation between him and either of the goals. We've got a lot of problems. And listen, the thing is that really fucking pisses me off is that the problems we have are problems that we've known about for some time that need addressing and have still not been addressed. So it's no surprise that we're seeing what we saw tonight, because every fan, every dog on the street knows that we have problems in this team that need addressing. The elephant in the room, obviously, are the fullback positions.
Yes.
Our fullbacks are woeful, and that needed to be addressed, and hasn't been. We needed someone we could rely on the left wing, who could hurt people, get after people, go past people, score, get assists. A player that we had on our books and would cost us nothing, and we sold him. So now tonight we rock up to the London Stadium, we see the team selection. Pablo Fornals is playing on left midfield again this season. Someone who's not a left winger is playing again out on the left wing, and I feel sorry for him because he's got no business playing out there. And bless him, he tries his best. His attitude is absolutely top class. He works extremely hard. He does his best to do a good job for the team. But it's impossible for him out there. It's not what he does. He wasn't raised to play that way. It's alien to him.
Yep.
And he shouldn't still be out there. And another reason he's out there is because we've got Anderson and Lanzini sitting on the bench, who both are very familiar with that position, but who David Moyes, for obvious reasons, just does not trust. And I don't blame him for not trusting him, because he has given them game time. He has tried them, put them on the pitch, and have never done anything for him. Certainly in his second spell back. Lanzini was good for him in his first spell, but that's, you know, water under the bridge. But since he's come back, Moyes, Lanzini, anytime he's played him, has not been good. Anderson has been really poor. So he just does not trust them. That's why Lanzini didn't come on tonight, and why Anderson only came on with 5 minutes to go. He just does not trust them. So here we are with poor Pablo Fornals being asked to play out in left midfield again. And Mark Noble is the other one, playing in the number 10 role. Mark Noble was lost. Mark Noble was absolutely lost in that game. The game was passing him by. You know, any game, the only games Mark Noble can play in the number 10 role are in games where we're dominating the game and we're dominating possession and our opponents are forced to defend a lot. Because then we have the ball up the field a lot, and that's where Mark is, and the play is always around him and he can get involved, and then he plays well. But in games like that, where we're either in a real contest, where the game is up and back the pitch, Noble is completely lost. He can't play in those games anymore. His legs are not there. So he was completely lost in that game. But here we are, still playing Mark Noble in the number 10 role, when really we should have the luxury of playing Fornals there with Diangana on the left. So this whole thing is an absolute shit show. There's absolutely no way we should have to put that same 11 out on the pitch today that we put out against Villa. It's a joke, and ultimately the blame lies with the board.
Yeah.
I have no doubt that David Moyes, if he had the funds that he needed and was given the choice of who's coming and who's going, Diangana would still be here and would have started tonight on the left wing, and we would have a centre back and two fullbacks. So to me, this is all on the board. All on the board. All on Sullivan, Gold, Brady. Moyes has not got the backing he needs. He hasn't been given the player he needs. And on top of that, I think with everything that's gone on with the Diangana situation, I think the players are demoralised. I know we spoke about this previously. Anyone who looked at the Bournemouth game, our last pre-season friendly, it was very, very obvious those players were down. They were demoralised because everything I've just said, they know too. They're not stupid. The players know this too.
If anything, they know more being on the inside. They get more information than we're getting. And if they're that down still, then there's obviously more going on behind the scenes than just that. But absolutely, they are 100% demoralized. I saw no fight. I saw nothing. Right from the get-go, I was screaming at my TV. I mean, there was no one. I don't know if it was the tactics or what it was. You good?
Sorry, bud. Yeah, look, it's.
I don't know if it was the tactic, if it was purposeful that we were going to stay back and defend continuously, but I mean, there was no support, nothing going forward. I mean, half of the time he got the ball, he was surrounded by four people, and that was it. And they were all defenders, and that was it.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, we also have a pace issue. You know, we're not really set up very well to counterattack. But look, Newcastle were always going to be competitive in this game. It was always going to be kind of box-to-box game. Excuse me. So, you know, the energy levels were going to have to be there. But it's just, to me, I think it's, no, I did think Declan Rice looked tired.
Yeah, and to be fair, I will give him that. I mean, that's 3 games in the span of a week. I know that he's a young player and all, but I mean, that's still a lot to ask.
Yeah, he was on England duty, and it looked like it took something out of him, to be fair. Did it matter? Well, yeah, well, I mean,
it's always going to affect it to a degree, but I mean...
Yeah. I mean, okay, Souček, but... So I think Souček is... I don't know how much he played, but I know Yarmolenko, came off the bench, so I wouldn't count that. But,
I think Souček, the entire Czech team had to be quarantined, so he was unable to train or play for at least a week. So
yeah, he's had rest. He had no choice. He was in enforced rest, Souček. And Yarmolenko, like I say, was on the bench. He came on in the second half. So, I mean, obviously his legs were okay for that. But, yeah, it's just... It's hard to see where we go from here. That was what I feared tonight. You know, I hoped that we'd put in a good performance and it might allay my fears a little bit. But unfortunately, you know, when we spoke previously, we were talking about what we're kind of expecting from the upcoming season, Chris, and I told you I was very worried that we're going to be in a dogfight for our lives. And
I mean, I've been worried as well. I'm just more. I end up coming off more honestly as a optimist. I thought that we were going to play better than that. I mean, you would assume that going into a season, regardless of who you're playing. I mean, obviously, last few years we've had to go up against the top six or tough opposition. So I mean, to a degree, that demoralizes a team. But I mean, when you're evenly matched like we were against Newcastle, on paper at least, you would think that they should come out with some fight, some hunger, some passion, and I just didn't see it. So I'm worried that that's going to happen, especially given our first 7.
Yeah, Newcastle were the better team, and the irony is not lost on me that their 2 goals came from 2 new signings.
Yeah.
They've freshened up the squad, and it's just given everyone a lift. Now we all knew Callum Wilson was going to score.
Yeah,
that was that was nailed on. But then Jeff Hendrick got the second, another new signing. And it just goes to show, when Newcastle clearly had a bit of a pep in their step, because over the last week they've seen 3 new faces come in, good players, or is it 4? There was one not used, wasn't there? One player not used, which was Fraser. It was 4, yeah, because Fraser was on the bench. So they had 4 new players they've seen come in very recently, and it just gives them all a lift and a boost to say, oh, geez, this is good. These are 4 good players have come in here, and they looked like it tonight. They looked like a team that they're ready for the season, that were confident and had some optimism, and we're looking forward to playing. But we were the exact opposite, unfortunately. It was a group of players who've seen Grady Diangana sold, which was just a stunning decision, which pissed everybody off. No players have come in. So, we're psychologically, Newcastle were just in a far better place than us. And it showed on the pitch. They were the better team. They deserved to win. Yes, we had some chances. But over the 90 minutes, they were better than us. And they deserved their win. And like you say, it's hard to see where the points are coming from now for a while, because like these next 6 games are horrendous. No, I'm not going to say we're going to lose all 6, because you never know in football. But what West Ham are like. They'll probably win one that we just do not expect them to win at all.
Liverpool or something.
But is it entirely possible we lose our first 7 games? Yes.
Absolutely.
It is absolutely possible that we lose our first 7 games and have 0 points going into November.
Yeah, and if that happens, bye-bye Moyes.
Possibly, we'll see. But
and then who knows who we get after that.
And then I think whatever happens, I'll be honest, Chris, I think whatever happens at the end of these next 6 games, we will be in the relegation zone. I'm absolutely convinced of that. And then I think the following game after that, when the schedule eases up a bit, I think we've got Fulham. And I think they'll be down around us as well. So all of a sudden, in early November, we'll be talking about a must-win 6-pointer against Fulham. And now the players and Moyes and everyone are really under pressure, because now they're being told, you have got to start winning games. And who knows how they'll respond to that pressure.
So this is kind of a stupid question then. Do you think that this spurs the board to more action and actually signing players?
I don't think it will change their plans. I think whatever their plans are now, I think that will remain their plans. Like, I don't see them suddenly injecting lots of money into the transfer kitty. I think what we discussed the other day on the transfer show is still true. They'll try their best to sign Tarkowski. I don't think it will happen personally, but I may be wrong. And I think they'll use the money elsewhere if it doesn't. If they get Tarkowski, they'll try and get a couple of loans in. I think whatever happens, we'll see 3 or 4 players maybe come in
Yeah.
by the end of the transfer window. Couple of permanent signings, couple of loans. So I don't think anything really much will change in that regard. It might, maybe it will give them a new sense of urgency, to say, okay, we better get them in fucking sooner rather than later. Get some deals over the line like very quickly if we can. A couple of loan signings. I thought, I'm aware. I think Holding from Arsenal is available on loan, and he was on the pitch today for Arsenal. So I don't know if that, but he would help if Moyes wants a CB centre back, and he clearly does. Then maybe loaning Holding for a season would placate him, and we could spend the money we do have on fullbacks. But if we're gonna, in my opinion, if we're gonna avoid relegation this season, we have got to sort out that defense. I mean, it's just exactly what we saw last season. We concede far too many goals. It was over 60 goals. Was it 62 or 3 goals we conceded last season?
Something.
And looking at tonight, we're going to do the same again this season, unless the board pull their fucking finger out of their arses and get some fucking defenders in for Moyes, because Moyes knows this, and that's where he wants to concentrate the money. He wants to get defenders in. So unless we start doing that, we're in deep shit, Chris. Because I mean, if we conceded 2 at home to Newcastle tonight, you can imagine over these next 6 games potentially how many goals we'll concede over those 6 games. It could be. I mean, our goal difference at the end of the first 7 games could be absolutely horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. We've kind of already touched on it, I guess, but do you think we'll get any points from the first 7?
Look, I'm sure we will. I mean, I know there'll be people out there who'll be totally doom and gloom, say we're going to lose every game. And I can't rule that out. Given the 6 teams we're playing, it is possible we could lose all 6. But it's also possible we could cause an upset or 2. You know, we could get, we could come out of it with 4 points or 5 points that people just didn't expect us to get. And it's easy to be doom and gloom right now. And I am, frankly, quite doom and gloom, but I'm not ready to say we're definitely going to lose all 6 games. Going into the Chelsea game last season, towards the end of the season, after the lockdown, none of us thought we were going to beat Chelsea. I mean, we all thought, because the game previously, we'd been really bad, and Chelsea had beaten Man City at Stamford Bridge, and they looked really, really good, Chelsea, in that game. And we all thought they were going to just destroy us, and we ended up beating them 3-2. So you never know in football. You never write any game off as such, but certainly we're not going to take very many points out of it if we do. It's going to be very few points, and like I said, it's entirely likely we'll be in the relegation zone at the end of them.
Yeah. So I've just pulled up the transcript for Moyes' press conference, post-match press conference. Apparently, first of all, he showed up late, so they're assuming that. Hang on here just a second. Sorry, my sister started FaceTiming me. But apparently, the players might have gotten a good talking to in the locker room. That's might explain as to why he was late. Moyes has apparently even said that he didn't see that bad of a performance coming. More importantly, though, and this is one thing I also wanted to get into, he was asked about the referee, and he said the game just didn't feel that it was officiated pretty well, but that wasn't the reason why we lost. I want to get your take. Was that a handball? Should it have been a penalty?
The Jeff Hendrick one?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't a handball or a penalty. His arms were completely down by his side. I mean, what's he supposed to do? Chop them off? His arms were down by his side, completely down by his side. Evening, Charlie. No, Hendrick's arms were right down by his side. So no, it wasn't a handball or a penalty, in my opinion. I don't think we can have any complaints there.
Yeah,
As for the referee that Mize was talking about, ref did okay. I didn't see a whole lot wrong with him.
I think there's still. I think that more comes from the anger of wanting a penalty and not getting it in that case.
Wasn't a penalty, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I don't think we've got anything. If you're clutching at straws like that, then you've had a bad game.
Yeah, what I'm concerned about with this Moyes press conference is when he was asked about the performance, he's quoted as saying the players were in good spirits. I just didn't feel we played well. It wasn't a good game. One or two decisions could have gone the other way. I wasn't a good game. That's the understatement of the year, I think.
Yeah, those comments are just ball them up, throwaway comments.
Yeah.
Just usual manager gibberish. A couple of more decisions could have gone our way, sure. Fine. What about it?
Yeah.
The referee who had nothing to do with this 2-0 loss.
Yeah.
I'd understand if there was a stonewall penalty that wasn't given or something like that, but it's nothing to do with the ref. It's nothing to do with a couple of other decisions could have gone our way. Yeah, that's every game you'll ever play. Get over it, like. So and then this thing about the players being in good spirits. Look, I don't doubt the man on that. I'm sure they weren't. I'm sure they weren't moping around the training ground and crying. I'm sure they were training fine and spirits were okay at the training ground this week. And but that doesn't really tell you about how a team's going to perform. I mean, look, you and I watch the NFL, Chris, right? Before every game, every single team, they're in the huddle, the players are getting hyped up. There's one player in the center, all the other players are around him. The player in the middle is hyping him up, shouting, roaring, we're going to do this, we're going to do, and then they go out and they get stuffed. So, this high spirits stuff isn't going to win you games either. I'm sorry, it's just not. You can't fake it on the pitch, right? You can be doing whatever you like on training ground. You can't fake it on the pitch. Once they cross the white line, that's when you needed their attitude to be right. And I think they're demoralized.
Yeah.
Now they might try to talk like they're not, or they might try to act like they're not on the training ground or whatever, and in interviews, as you'd expect. They'll say the right things. Yeah, we're up for it. Looking forward to it. Can't wait to get started and get stuck into it. But you can't fake it on the pitch. Once you cross the white lines, if you're not, it will show. And they weren't tonight. And I do think they're demoralized. I do think they're pissed off with what's going on at the club. It's hard to blame them. We're all pissed off and a bit demoralized. And it can be hard to go out and put in a really good performance if you just feel like things are not right, and if you feel like the whole club is not being run correctly, and the right things are not being done off the pitch, and that things are going in the wrong direction, which I think the players feel since the sale of Diangana and the fact that no fresh faces have come in to brighten the place up even, just new faces, new voices, positions filled that need strengthening, just to say to people, all right, this is good. This is good. This is going to help us win games. There's none of that. And so when you take to the pitch and you've got exactly the same team with exactly the same flaws as you had the season before, and then anything goes wrong, like your opponents are actually, okay, they're playing really well, it's going to be difficult to survive in a game. And we saw that tonight, and Newcastle's attitude compared to ours was just chalk and cheese.
Yeah. There's been a lot of comments about Noble in the chat. I want to get your take on him. Like, I know that it was not a good game for him, but just in general, what do you think?
Well, I spoke about it earlier. He was lost.
Yeah.
He was completely lost in the game. Like I said, just to reiterate, in a game where we're doesn't happen often, but in a game where we're dominating and we have lots of the ball and our opponents are forced back to defend in numbers, then all of the play is in and around Noble, and he can hang around there in the middle of the pitch and he'll get plenty of ball and he can move it this way and that way and play his passes. But in a game that's box to box like tonight was, where our opponents have their share of the ball and it's back and forth, Noble just can't keep up with the play. He gets lost. And that's what happened tonight. He was lost and he doesn't have the legs for it anymore. You know, you can see how slow he is out there. His energy levels aren't what they need to be.
Yeah.
So, you know, remember last season, for example, in the game against Norwich, where we were totally dominant against Norwich and we had all the possession and they were like having to defend a lot. And we beat them comfortably because Noble played really well in that game. For that exact reason, that we had them pushed back, we had our numbers up, all of the play was in their half, and so everything is going on around Noble, right? So the ball is coming to him from both sides, from front, from back. He's getting played, so he can just hover around that number 10 area and get plenty of little passes, and he can move the ball. But how many times do we play in games like that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Everyone was concerned with him playing in the 10 role, and I mean, I found he was playing further back than Souček and Rice most of the time. I couldn't explain it. I really couldn't. Like, I know that the defense needed additional support, but the guy who's
he's trying to get a touch.
Yeah,
he's just coming. See, he's coming back into the thick of the action, where he can actually get some passes, because he wasn't going to get too many further up the field because the game just passes him by. But look, Noble shouldn't be there again. I don't want to say this too often. I've said it already, but you know, we shouldn't be putting out the same 11 this season that we were last. There's a reason we struggled last season and why we just barely avoided relegation. And we saw all of those reasons again tonight. And so we might not get away with it this time. So the board had better get their fucking finger out lively and get some players in. And I don't mean stopgap players. I mean first team players that are going to come in and fix the positions that need fixing.
Yeah. So where do we go from here? That's the big question. How do we change? How do we get the most of what we have right now? And this is just talking pure hypothetical in case we don't sign any, or I shouldn't say hypothetical because more realistically, it's reality that we're not going to sign many players or too many impact players. So where do we go from here? What do we do? What do we change to get results?
I'll tell you what, Chris, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be difficult to fix this with the squad that we have. So, like, I mean, who do you drop from today and replace and think that that's going to fix something? The only thing I think of, maybe put Ben Johnson in, see if he can improve things any. And I mean, look, you could go back to trying Anderson or trying Lanzini, but we did that last season, and it did nothing for us. It did absolutely nothing for us when we tried Anderson, tried Lanzini. Okay, you can say, look, Antonio's not a striker, and he's not. And you can say, just move Antonio left wing, Fornals to the centre, Haller up top. You could try it. Will Anderson suddenly become the Anderson who's a really great footballer? I don't trust him to do that. Will Haller suddenly look like a much better forward? I mean, you know, I just don't know what we do here, other than improving the positions that need improving. I mean, let's put it this way. What, in my opinion, should have happened, okay? So if you look at the money we're trying to throw at Burnley for Tarkowski, right? It's in the 30 million plus range, right?
I believe it's going to, if we were to sign him, it would be around 35.
Right, okay, well, for anywhere from 30 plus, right? So with that money, instead of chasing Tarkowski, for that very same money, for 31 million, I believe it is, we could have signed Jamal Lewis and Matty Cash. So imagine
with leftover.
Yeah, imagine that would have cost 31 million. Jamal Lewis went to Newcastle for 15, Matty Cash went to Villa for 16. So imagine tonight we had Matty Cash at right back, Jamal Lewis at left back, Grady Diangana left midfield, which meant that Fornells was starting in the number 10 role. You think we see a different game?
Yep.
I think we see a very different game. And not just from the new players, but the players that are already there from last season have got a pep in their step. And they're loving it because they're saying, geez, we got these players in and these are good players. These are really going to help. These are going to make us better. Haller starting up top with Diangana out in the left wing. Haller would have been like, all right, I'll have some of this. Because you saw his comments after the Ipswich game, waxing lyrical about Grady Diangana, that he's going to get him a lot of assists. It would transform us. But unfortunately, we don't have owners who know how to run a club. And that's where we're at. This is our life. Yeah, I mean, look, the lad that we got from United, I don't know if you saw the goal he scored the other day.
Great goals.
Under 21s. Did you see that low drive that he hit?
I mean, he's got a cannon for a leg.
That low drive, no word of a lie, there is not a single player, not one, in our senior team that can score a goal like that.
No.
Not one. The way he hit that ball, I mean, just... Yeah, I mean, just... I know there's mixed opinion about Haller. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Charlie, about Moyes, but his hands are tied too. I don't know where we go from here, Chris. I'm genuinely extremely concerned.
Yeah,
that we're going down. And I mean, listen, there's a lot of talk at the moment about Royce to Chelsea. I mean, if that happens, man, I think that could be
curtains. We'd have to seriously invest quick. We really would. And yes, I know there's still 37 games left, but I mean, you can almost chalk up the first 7 of 38 to being very few points are going to be few and far between. And then at that point, who knows if we've made any signings? If we have to play all 38 matches with this team, there's no chance. No chance.
Yeah, of course we're going to struggle. We struggled last season. You know what I mean? It's all right saying there's 37 games left, but you have to take everything in context. I mean, last season, I think we were only mathematically safe before the final game. After match week 37, we were kind of mathematically safe. So let's not get carried away here. I mean, we have the same team. And I honestly believe that the 3 teams that came up, with the exception maybe of Fulham could be this year's Norwich, right? Who are like just a bad side, rock bottom basically all season, maybe, or close to all season. I think they're definitely going back down, Fulham.
Yeah, I agree.
Leeds, anyone who watched Leeds play against Liverpool tonight would have to imagine that, they probably won't perform that well week in, week out, but Leeds look like they have more than enough about them to stay up. West Brom, we'll see. West Brom probably have something about them as well. I don't think they'll be great. I think there will be relegation candidates in there or thereabouts. But if you think we're not in that conversation about who's going to be in the bottom three at the end of this campaign, then you're actually deluded. And it's nothing to do with relaxed. There's 37 games left. It's nothing to do with just being, an eternal pessimist. We
Yeah.
have to face the reality. Unless we get players in that will improve the first 11, at the very least, because Charlie might be right. Maybe under Moyes that it's inevitable that we'll be a relegation candidate. So unless things change, at the very least, we need personnel on the pitch. We need to fix the positions where we're really weak. And this is not something that's just popped up this summer. Look, this has been the case. How long have we been watching Cresswell and Fredericks be very poor? It's a couple of years now. I mean, when was the last time we brought in a new fullback? Zabaleta, I guess, was the last one. When did we last?
Well,
how long since we?
Fredericks, I think, is the most recent one.
Yeah, but I mean, like someone where you thought, oh, yeah, okay, now we're talking. This is a really good player we've got here, and we're still looking at Fredericks and Cresswell every week, going into this season again. So, I just right now, if you asked me to, if you held my feet to the fire, I think right now as we speak, I think we're getting relegated. I really do, Chris.
Right now, I think that we are going to be in that battle all season. I think we're going to end up pulling it off at the end again. I texted you before, I DM'd you on Twitter beforehand. I did a little bit of a prediction, like it just in my notes on my computer, and see. I'm going to look back at it when the season's done, see how close I was, and I think we finished 16th. I think that's right now about our cap. I don't see us doing. I think right now we'll fall between 13th and 16th, with 16th being most realistic. But there is a strong case for relegation. There really is.
Yeah, we have to hope that there are 3 other teams that have an absolute stinker of a season.
Yeah,
stinker.
And we're in that position again where we have to rely. The only way we stay in the Premier League, it looks like, is if there's 3 worse teams that happen to be worse than us, and I hate that feeling.
Yeah, luckily last season there were 3 teams worse than us. I think Fulham will be, possibly West Brom will be worse than us, but I don't know. We haven't seen anything from West Brom yet. We don't know what kind of season. They might surprise us and be quite good and finish 14th. You don't know. But who knows? Maybe Villa won't go well again. Maybe Villa will struggle. They completely overpaid for Ollie Watkins, by the way.
Yes,
I couldn't believe they paid that money for Watkins.
Yeah.
So it remains to see if he's going to be able to make that step up. Now, look, if Watkins gets into double digits in goals and has just a decent season for them, that might be enough for Villa. That might be the difference that just keeps them in the Premier League. But he's going to have to. If Watkins is a flop, Villa, I think, will go. So it's going to be very, very tight down there again. And make no mistake, we're going to be in that mix.
Yeah. I have to do some research into this. Apparently, Bilic is making moves for Xande Silva. We cannot give another one of our players to a potential relegation candidate. No, just absolutely not. We'll
give him Silva. We'll sell Silva to him. If they put an offer on the table for Silva, decent offer, they'll take it.
That makes. I don't know if you'd seen the Atlantic has put in has published some rumors that of the players that were potentially in for on loan, and two of them include Troy Deeney and Andre Gray.
Well, so what?
So
I mean,
nothing exciting.
one thing that would be interesting. Let's say Troy Deeney comes in, right? Now Deeney is actually a decent player. I mean, he's not a terrible player. I mean, and he has a lot of Premier League experience. He has a lot of leadership qualities. You'd have to wonder what that means for Haller. I mean, would Deeney suddenly be ahead of Haller in the pecking order? Just from what he's doing on the training ground, because he's an all-out kind of player, like 100% commitment, a leader. You just wonder, and I already worry about Haller's future. I mean, the fact he didn't start tonight. Antonio was preferred up top. You have to worry for Haller, and you wonder what Sullivan, Brady. You saw them; they were sitting up in the stand, and they must be looking down at the bench, thinking, "Jesus Christ, that's 45 million pounds that we still haven't even paid for, sitting on the bench."
Oh, Anderson was on the bench. We had over, I believe that the figure was we had over 100 million pounds worth on players sat on the bench, and they're not starting. I mean, that just goes to show you how bad our transfer policy is.
Yeah, well, none of them are performing. None of them are playing well. It's not like none of them have had a chance. They've all had a chance. I agree with Charlie. I've said it before, Charlie, actually, on other podcasts, that Moyes' job is to find a way to get the likes of Anderson, Haller, Lanzini playing and playing well. That's his job. I don't want to hear about, I didn't sign them, so I don't fancy them, so I'm going to sit them on the bench. That's not good enough. There are players, there's a lot of talent sitting on that bench, a lot of talent. And if Moyes should do us all a favour, including himself, if he's capable of finding a way to get those players on the pitch and playing really well. So if you can imagine, if you had the likes of Anderson left midfield, Lanzini in the number 10, Haller up top, and they're all performing, we're a completely different team, a totally different animal. But to be honest, Charlie, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Moyes has no faith in Anderson, Lanzini, or Haller, and so I don't think we're ever really going to see them starting very many games, barring there's suspensions or injuries. So I wouldn't hold my breath.
Yeah. So I can't remember off the top of my head. Who is it that we play next?
Yeah, I can't remember what way those next six fall.
Cup match Tuesday. And then
Sorry?
we have a cup match against Charlton on Tuesday.
Charlton.
And then next Saturday we play Arsenal.
Arsenal away. So
yay.
Yeah, and Arsenal were really good today. Granted, Fulham were dreadful, but
yeah. We were talking about it earlier with Fulham. For anyone interested, I think my personal three, I think that are going down are Fulham, West Brom, and Villa. I just think my gut feeling is that those are the three teams that go down. So
that's entirely possible.
Brighton finishing.
Thanks, Charlie.
Above that.
It's entirely possible that we could survive, but that's all we're doing right now is surviving. And another thing from today that really disappointed me, that Josh Cullen wasn't on the bench.
Yeah, that's a few other people in the comments have mentioned that as well, and I agree. I was shocked by that myself. We didn't
Would
have
anyone have? Yeah,
anybody.
like we had no midfielders on the bench, like central midfielders.
No, I
You know,
mean,
we had Lanzini and Anderson are attacking mids. We had no central midfielder on there. So, like, I don't understand that. I would have had no issue whatsoever if Lanzini had not been on the bench and Cullen had been there instead. And frankly, if I'm completely honest, if we're going to play Noble in that number 10 role, if that's where we want to put him, I'd rather play Cullen there.
Yep, I agree. With Hammerhead saying Cullen probably going, there have been links this summer of him leaving. So wouldn't be shocking. It really wouldn't. I'm hoping that they give him a chance during the cup match on Tuesday, and he proves himself and he gets a spot at least on the bench. He deserves that at least.
I think he'll play Tuesday. Yeah, I think he'll start the game Tuesday.
Yeah, I would definitely play
Odebeco
on the bench for the cup match as well. I mean, again, he deserves it. So. Yeah, are you just not going to have cover on the pitch for a position as important as CM? Yeah, exactly. I mean,
yeah, crazy Charlie. Yeah, absolutely crazy. Especially as Cullen was really good in pre-season. You know, he's basically the same kind of player as Noble, but he's just better. Foe, that's an easy one for me. Cullen should, if it's a choice between those two,
yeah,
Cullen. I would prefer Cullen in that role than Noble. Cullen at least has the young legs, has the energy. He can get around the pitch a lot better than Noble. The game wouldn't pass him by the way it does Noble.
Yeah. So moving forward, looking past the cup match, we'll kind of avoid that for the time being. What do you expect against Arsenal? Do you think we'll change anything? Do you think there'll be any new players by then? Do you think it's going to be more of the same?
It'll be mostly the same. Possibly make a couple of personnel changes for the Arsenal game, depending on what he did or didn't like from tonight's game. It's hard to know with Moyes I can't see inside his mind. I don't know what stood out for him today. A couple of players might get dropped.
Yeah.
It would be very little difference, I would think, from today's lineup.
For me, I'd love to, if there was only one change made, I'd love Johnson over Cresswell. That's the first thing I would do.
Well, we probably all would, but whether Moyes will do that, I don't know. But I think it'll be largely the same team. I don't expect to see very much difference.
Yeah. Funny enough.
If Nicolas Pepe starts, he didn't start today.
That's true.
Nicolas Pepe, he came off the bench, so we'll see if he even starts that game.
We're linked with our own guy by the name of Pepe. Funny enough. So
Pepe the Frog.
Yeah. But listen, I mean,
can you imagine what fucking Lacazette and Aubameyang are going to do to us next week?
Christ. No, I don't want to. They're going to do some disgusting things to us. I just have a feeling.
Yeah. Look, next week we're going to be forced to defend deep.
Yep.
And try to hit them on the counter. But the problem is, hit them on the counter with what? Who's going to do that?
Question.
Well, who's Noble? Noble's going to bomb down the field. Fornals going to bomb down the field to catch them on the counter.
Incoming Noble Worldy.
Yeah, we're going to be forced to play on the counter next week. We're not going to have a choice. Arsenal are going to have the lion's share of possession. They're going to force us back. So we're going to have to be able to play on the counter. So what do? I mean, if nothing else, you have to say, okay, I need legs on the pitch. I need some pace, which means Antonio will start. Would you have an awful lot to lose? For example, to say, okay, Fornals and Noble, I'm taking you out. and I'm starting Anderson at left midfield, and I'm putting Lanzini in the number 10 role. At least they're still kind of young in their prime, and they've got some pace about them. Bowen isn't very pacey, but he's quick enough for
Yeah,
the job. So
body, and he can bully his way through. For me, though, with regards to Anderson, it all depends on if they go with Ben Johnson instead of Cresswell. If they keep Cresswell in, Anderson can't track back and help defend. So we're going to be so vulnerable, and even more vulnerable than we were today on that side. So if they keep
fuck
Cresswell,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm over it. I'm over it. This left-hand side of, we need someone out there who's going to be able to track back and cover. Knightley, I don't care. We are going to need pace on the counter in that Arsenal game, in the story. And fuck it, just put Anderson out on the left, put Lanzini at 10, Bowen on the right, and then Antonio up top. At least with those players, we've got a chance of counter-attacking. At least we have a chance. If we're talking noble Fornals, our counterattacks there won't be any. I mean, our counterattacks are going to consist of us hoofing the ball in the general direction, 50 yards, in the general direction of Antonio, and hoping he can just bully and barge his way somewhere near the 18-yard box so he can hit a pile driver into the top tier. So put the pace players on against Arsenal. What have we got to lose?
Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, I'd like to see us go for it at least, but I'm afraid we're going to try and revert back to a like you were saying, just a defensive heavy mindset of, all right, we got to try and hit them on the counter, but that's going to end up costing us. We're going to end up conceding more often than not, I think, in that case. So I just say go for it. If you go for it and lose 3-1 or something like that, at least you went for it.
Yeah, but look, Arsenal are so good. Yeah, unfortunately, Charlie, that's always been the case, and no doubt we'll see the same against Arsenal next week. I'm just talking about what I would rather him do, because counterattacks are going to be important to us next week. Look, it's all right saying we go out and we go for it, but Arsenal have very good players. They're looking much better side under Arteta. So we're probably going to be forced back for a lot of the game, whether we kind of like it or not. I think Arsenal will have a lot of possession, whether we like it or not. They'll control the ball a lot, and they will force us to kind of sit deep for large portions of that game, I think. So counter-attack, that's why I think counter-attacking will be really important next Saturday. And despite the fact Anderson, Lanzini haven't been great, I mean, at least they've got the legs for it, right? At least they've got the pace to give us a chance when we do win the ball back in our own half, that we can play a ball forward and they can trouble Arsenal with their pace and get in around their 18-yard box very quickly. Maybe we can make something of it.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm sure we'll be here with a post-match stream for following the Troll match. If it's going to be televised here in America, I got to find a way to get a stream for that. I'll be in class as well, so it'll be a bit of a later one when we do, just because I don't get out of class until, probably 5:30 my time. It's going to be a little bit of a tougher one. But for sure, against Arsenal, let's hope for a better result than today. Let's keep pushing. Hope, like I said, hope for something. Keep up some sort of optimism. We do still have 37 matches after all. But till then, I want to thank Tommy for joining me as always. I want to thank everyone for joining us in the chat room. I love doing these. It's a way to get a lot of emotions off of our chest especially following a loss and being able to triumph with friends following a victory. I'm looking forward to doing these again for another season. I know you probably are too, Tommy.
Yeah, I am. Despite the fact, unfortunately, the vast majority of them have not been happy streams. I wouldn't. Yeah, we will see some new, other different players, Charlie, which is nice. But we'll see how we feel at the end of it. We might not be smiling, but it could be another cup exit to a fucking League One team. But we'll see.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thanks, Bex.
But yeah, so again, thank you, Tommy, for joining me as always. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Hope to see you back here Tuesday and then next Saturday. But until then, come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.